This is Football Night in America, built by Lowe's.
It's the Football Night in America podcast. Devin, McCourty, Jason, Garrett, Mike Florio. We've been abandoned.
We have.
It's weird. We got elbow room.
Yeah, everybody left us.
We can talk as long as we want. We will be joined coming up by Steve Kornacki. But at the desk, we got some.
Yeah, got rid of the riffraff.
Yeah. So, big week. And 3 divisions that had significant games that will go a long way toward determining who wins. Let's start with the Packers and the Bears. Biggest thing that stands out to you from that one?
I think that the Packers now, it feels like they're in control of this division. A division, I think, coming in where like Detroit is the team to beat, and now you look up and the Packers have beaten Detroit. Then they come and they beat the Bears. The way that they're playing, their defense is fast, they're explosive. We know Micah Parsons and they can get after the passer. They started it today, though, getting after the running backs, shutting down the run, doing a good job in the run game. And then, you talked about it earlier tonight, Jordan Love, his ability to understand how to control the game. What type of game is it? I got to be smart. I can't have the big turnovers. So I just feel like for them, you walk away and you say, we can't slip up anymore. No more being inconsistent. Our best ball has to be in front of us, and we should feel good going into the playoffs and winning this division.
Yeah, they've won a lot of games up to this point, but you always got this feeling like, the offense was good, but the defense really didn't show up. Or the defense showed up, but what's going on with our offense? And to me, this was a complete game against a really good opponent at a critical time. And I love just looking at Jordan Love's eyes. He played with a lot of confidence. Chicago's been really good at kind of affecting the other team's offenses, taking the ball away. And when they attacked Jordan Love, he came right back and attacked them. They made so many plays off of Chicago's blitz, and it has to give them a really good feeling. The defense showed up and made some critical stops in some big moments, so they're certainly in the driver's seat.
And you mentioned Jordan Love, and look, we tend to follow the drip of the MVP race, but if the Packers keep climbing, because I'm a firm believer it doesn't matter until you get to the end of the regular season and the seedings are locked in. And if the Packers somehow end up with a number 1 seed and the way Jordan Love's been playing, he's got to get some consideration, right?
No doubt. I still think for me he's a step down from the guys we've been talking about, Stafford and Drake May. But, them making a push here at the end of the season and solidifying themselves, he's been the guy who's been critical to their success.
Yeah, and I think on the opposite side of that, when you look at the Chicago Bears, that's heartbreaking. You come into the week and you're the number 1 seed, and then you look up and you're like, wait, how do we drop all the way to the 7th seed? But I think they just need to understand, hey, we didn't finish this game. We've played good ball. We went into Philadelphia and beat them on Black Friday. We've done enough good things. How do we just make sure now at the end of the season, how do we finish games? I just remember being in New England, and no matter how the season went, it just felt like once we hit December, it was how do we play the best possible football we can play right now? How do we figure out a way to go win games in the fourth quarter? They didn't do it tonight. Now you have to figure out how do we get that done? How does Caleb Williams, maybe instead of throwing that interception, run and pick up the first down? Those little things.
Well, I think they're built to play well at the end of the year. I think they've built the team the right way to be in Chicago and playing in the NFC North. They addressed the offensive line in free agency. They're running the ball really well. They're playing good defense. They're taking the ball away. The quarterback's moving around. The one issue for me with them is the consistency of their drop-back passing game. When you play these really good teams, you're going to need to convert the third downs in a drop-back setting. They have not done that consistently throughout the year.
Before we move on, I just have to ask you, as a former head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback, rolling to the left on that 4th down play that Devin mentioned. Do you love that idea of putting the quarterback in that spot to have to make that throw?
Well, it's a great question. A lot of defensive coaches would never allow their quarterbacks to go left. But understanding how defenses look at it, if it's a right-handed quarterback, okay, the defensive end on this side is going to be up the field. The defensive end on this side is going to be down the line because they don't think he's going to go left. So oftentimes that's actually the best way to go. And for a guy like Caleb Williams, who's so athletic, I don't think that's a real issue.
And to his point, when I was in New England, every big 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, flat to the left, we would sometimes put the extra defender, just stick them out there on the left side for any type of play.
Flat to the defensive left.
Yes, defensive left.
The offensive right.
Exactly.
So when you're calling those plays, you have to watch what their tendencies are. and oftentimes going left's the better option.
Devin mentioned the consequence for the Bears falling from number 1 to number 7 in the NFC. Here's Steve Kornacki with some more specific numbers about what this game means for the NFC North chase.
Yeah, let's take a look at that NFC North picture. So the Packers actually came into today. Our analytics model liked their chances of winning the division more than the Bears entering the day. That solidifies certainly with the result. The Packers now 4 straight wins. They do overtake the Bears in the standings. However, if you're a Chicago fan, don't despair, at least not yet when it comes to this division, because just think about next week. The Packers now back in first place, but where do they go next week? They go on the road to Denver. Very tough game they're going to have to play next week. Meanwhile, the Bears are going to be hosting Cleveland next week, so there's potentially a chance next week where the Bears could leapfrog the Packers. And then guess what happens 2 weeks from now? These two teams meet again. This time it'll be in Chicago. So this one's certainly not over yet and still lurking here with a 10% shot. The Lions, the problem for the Lions, well, first of all, they've lost twice to the Packers so far, so they won't have any tiebreaker against the Packers. And also, you're talking about 4-game winning streak with the Packers. It had been a 5-game winning streak with the Bears. 2 of the hottest teams in the league. The Lions are going to need them both to cool off in a big way down the stretch to even have a chance.
Great as always, Steve. Stick around. We'll be back to you. So NFC North, I remember when it was the NFC Central. I remember when it was the AFC Central. It's now the AFC North. The Steelers and the Ravens, they were both 6-6. Steelers get the win. Is it a bigger win for Pittsburgh or a bigger loss for the Steelers? Or, I mean, for the Ravens?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bigger win for the Steelers right now because of each win in this division is a big deal. And I think right now they have some type of control over the AFC North. And I think for them, you look forward, they're going to play Miami. Miami's a team that's playing good ball, but like they get to play Miami and Pittsburgh. That's a huge difference if we were talking about them in December traveling down to hot Miami and trying to get a win. So I think it's a bigger win for them. I do think overall when you watch that game today, I don't think we fell in love with either team walking away saying, okay, like this team's going to win the division. It's almost like, hey, man, whoever wins this division probably going to lose in the first round. I think that was the vibe we got from the game. But nonetheless, the Steelers responded. A lot went on last week. You know, the Mike Tomlin chance, Aaron Rodgers coming down hard, T.J. Watt having a strong stance on how they were performing as a defense. And you got what you wanted if you're a Steelers fan. Your team responded. They came out there. They got a win. It wasn't pretty. Some questionable calls in the game and all of that. But at the end of the day, you got the win.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it was a critical win for them, particularly in how they won. In some ways, they stole the game. You mentioned some of the calls at the end of the game, that play with Rodgers where you thought that Baltimore intercepted it. Likely seems like he has a touchdown. They don't give it to him. There was the play with the on the kick. So there was a lot of things that happened at the end of the game that gave you a little bit of the feeling like, boy, Pittsburgh come in here and they stole one. The bigger issue for me with Pittsburgh is you think they got better on defense, but Baltimore rushed for 200 yards in this game. And Lamar was able to make some plays. They did make some critical stops in the red zone and at the end of the game, which is obviously the most important stuff. But it was a good win for them. Their response was really good. There's still a lot of football to be played. I don't think this one's done yet.
This is a killer for Baltimore, too, because they had won 5 in a row. They were resurrected. 2 straight home games against division rivals, and they lost. How do you keep the locker room coach from falling apart after those 2 games?
You rely on your best guys. You rely on your quarterback. You rely on your running back, those guys on defense, Kyle Hamilton and the other guys, and understand where we are. And you know, we used to have this big sign in our building. I used to talk about it virtually every day. The only thing that matters is what we do now, right? So if Baltimore had won this game, right, the only thing that matters is what they do now. There's 4 games to play. You got to go win these games one at a time. So they're certainly very much in this race. They let one slip away, and they just need to kind of reset and go essentially run the table 1 game at a time, and I think they're capable of doing it.
Yeah, I think that's the key. You say, guys, look, everything's still right in front of us. The plan is put ourselves in position. Last game of the year, we're going to go to Pittsburgh, and we want that to be for the division. We win, we're in. But I think the bigger thing when you watch Baltimore is they rushed for 200 yards and lost.
Yeah.
Like usually when we talk about Baltimore rushing for 200 yards, we're talking about Derrick Henry had a huge game. Lamar also had a big game rushing. It still feels like that offense hasn't found its rhythm. There were plays today where Lamar looked a little bit like himself, running that burst. but then there were drop balls. It's just incomplete. And now it's the point in the season where you're like, how and why is it still not working? Is it ever going to work for this year?
And you said it earlier, and Chris Sims says it every year as the Steelers get closer to the playoffs. He doesn't want them in the playoffs because he doesn't think they have a chance to win, and it's been 9 years since they last won a playoff game. All right, we'll bring Steve Kornacki back in. Take us through the numbers that will determine the AFC North, Steve.
Yeah, reports of the Steelers' demise greatly exaggerated in the AFC North. Now with that win today, really our model says it's a 2-3 chance, essentially, 68%, that the Steelers end up winning this division over the Ravens. The Ravens now a game behind the Steelers, but the Ravens do get another crack at Pittsburgh Week 18, so potentially there, the Ravens with a chance to steal a division on the last game of the season. The problem for the Ravens, there are some landmines between here and Week 18. They got to play the Patriots. They still have to play the Patriots, and they have to go play at Lambeau against Green Bay. Get through that, get to Week 18, one game behind the Steelers. They may have a shot, though, to get this after all.
Thank you, Steve. We'll turn now to the AFC South, where the Colts started off 7-1. Everything looked great. None of the other three teams looked like they could find their way out of their own backyard. And now here we are, the Jaguars taking over. How big of a win for Jacksonville now that they are 9-4 and the Colts are one game behind them at 8-5?
Oh, it's huge. I think when it comes to the Jaguars, everyone wanted to see what the other teams were going to do, not really focusing on what Jacksonville did. And for them to now, go and play Indy, get the win, and it's unfortunate for Indy with Daniel Jones going down. You're looking like, hey, Trevor Lawrence has played well the last few weeks. This team looks like they're finding their stride right in time. What I've been impressed with is Jacoby Myers comes over there, and he's not the big-name receiver, but he's kind of turned into a security blanket. He had 10 targets today, and it feels like he kind of gets Trevor Lawrence going. It feels like early in the game, they target him. He does a great job catching the ball, not many drops, and it feels like that's calmed Trevor Lawrence down. And, again, Chris Sims said it earlier on Football Night in America, a lot of credit goes to Liam Cohen. I think he's gotten in there. He's helped Trevor Lawrence understand this is how we want to play the quarterback position in this offense, and it's starting to pay off.
Yeah, oftentimes with quarterbacks, even guys who have played as much football as Trevor Lawrence has, sometimes you don't really know what's good. And when you have a guy who understands the quarterback position, he reaffirms what's good. Sometimes what's good is throwing the ball away and living for another down and punting it. And so I get the sense, a little bit like Jordan Love, that Trevor Lawrence has a really good look in his eye. He's playing with confidence. He's making the off-schedule play. He's making the little play. He's standing in from the pocket. He's moving out in space. And so for me, you said it, the Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence relationship has worked incredibly well, and he's playing with a lot of confidence, and that feeds the rest of their team. The defense is playing really well, and they're a sneaky good football team, and they've beaten some good teams so far this year. They're going to be hard to beat down the stretch.
And I want to go back to something you mentioned. Jacoby Myers, deadline deal, and it's not easy for the receiver or for the team, for the quarterback, for anyone. When you bring a guy in midstream to plug him in and make him productive, you've been there.
No doubt. It's hard. There's a lot of reps that he's missed, in the offseason, in training camp, in the early part of the season, but he's a veteran guy. And I do believe that he's had a stabilizing influence on that quarterback because, like you said, get him some completions early, the quarterback starts feeling good about it, and then he starts making some plays as the game goes on. It was a good pickup for them.
All right, Steve. Well, wait, let's talk about the Colts first, because you mentioned Daniel Jones.
What do you want to talk about? It's
I
over.
mean, there's only been 5 teams that have started 7-1 or better and failed to make the playoffs since the merger. No one has failed to make the playoffs with a start of 7-1 or better since they expanded to 7 teams. I mean, they're looking at tumbling out of a 7-team playoff field. And, Coach, any reason to think they can turn it around?
No, it's going to be hard without Daniel. And they have a lot of good teams that they're going to play here down the stretch. I had a lot of confidence in them before Daniel's injury because I think a lot of teams in this league, you gather some wins early on, right? So they have a gaudy record. They're 7-1. And then invariably, you stumble. You lose a game, you lose a couple games, maybe you shouldn't lose, and then you kind of reset and you make your stretch run. I think that's the rhythm of a lot of playoff teams that eventually play well. And so I was not panicked about them. I feel like that combination of DJ, and Jonathan Taylor under Shane Steichen. I think that's a good rhythm that they've demonstrated throughout the year. But with him out and Riley Leonard playing, I just think it's a lot to ask of Riley. I know him from his time at Notre Dame. He's a really good football player. He's just not a sophisticated passer at this point. So they got to wear Jonathan Taylor out, and they got to get Riley Leonard running on those quarterback runs. I'm not so sure it's going to be enough.
Yeah, it's hard when you have a guy playing quarterback that can play a certain way, and your offense is kind of built towards that, and then he goes down within a game. Now Riley Leonard goes in there, you're like, these are not really the best plays for him. So I agree with you. Next week and the weeks after, we'll see how they reset. I just think when you look behind them, you see Baltimore, you see Houston, you see Kansas City. I believe they'll have a better end to their season than the Colts will.
And this is a fair point to make. The Anthony Richardson injury happened week 6. They had 3 weeks to try to trade for somebody to bolster that position behind Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has the injury history. This is something that was always on the table with Daniel Jones as the starter, and it happened. And now it's Riley Leonard, Brett Rippon, whoever else they can manage to put on that depth chart. All right, Steve Kornacki, tell us about the AFC South in light of today's outcome.
Yeah, Jags and the Colts came into this game today tied atop the AFC South. They come out of it. They could not possibly be pointed in more opposite directions. The Jags with that win to 9-4, a 2/3 chance now of winning the AFC South. And you take a look at the Colts right here, single-digit odds in this division right now. 3 straight losses. Obviously, now they've lost their quarterback. By the way, next week, where do the Colts go? They play at Seattle. That is the start of the second toughest final stretch of games of any team in the league. That's what the Colts are walking into. Meanwhile, the Jags, the schedule for them a lot easier. Among the teams they're going to play down the stretch here, talk about the Jets and the Titans. So a chance here certainly for the Jags with this win to build on it in the weeks ahead.
Steve, excellent stuff as always. Welcome back. And now it's time to earn your Sunday. Presented by Lowe's. Speed round. And we don't get extra time because there's only 3 of us. All right. Just give me the first thing that comes into your head with each one of these. Josh Allen, 4 total touchdowns in the comeback win over the Bengals.
Superman is here, Josh. I mean, the guy's incredible. It's fun to watch. And we just got to keep reminding ourselves it might not be able to be this special every week, but we're watching something that's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's an absolute freak show. And I probably say it to myself 10 times a game when I watch him play. Those guys chasing him are NFL players. They're world-class athletes, and he's running around out there like it's nothing. In those conditions, you know, he's amazing, and he makes all the big plays and all the big moments for that team.
Hey, that's what I have to say. Look, to all these owners out there that want to build the dome stadiums, thank goodness the Bills decided to go open air, and at least we'll have one place where we'll see some games like we did today. All right. Puka Nacua, 167 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in a 45-17 blowout over the Cardinals.
Pick your poison. Like this Rams team, the running backs had big days. Usually Devontae Adams catches touchdowns inside the 5. Oh, you forgot? Puka Nacua's here too. Unbelievable, 2 touchdowns, and they're big plays that he's doing out there. Matt Stafford's still on fire, even though he had the 1 bad game last week.
Yeah, I love Stafford's description of Puka. He's a war daddy, and he demonstrates that every week, and he does the dirty work for them. He's digging safeties out. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's a mess for the defense, and I love the response. There were some murmurings in our room. Oh, maybe Arizona. I looked at, are you guys crazy? I mean, they're gonna destroy it.
It wasn't me.
It might have been me.
All right, let me say this too, and in fitting my, Debbie Downer, Dr. Doom reputation, it's looking bad for the Cardinals. And Jonathan Gannon, the head coach, was asked 3 weeks ago about his job status, and he basically said this is the life we've chosen. And this was the worst loss of the season by 28 points. They've lost 10 out of 11. This is one that I'm going to be paying attention to starting tomorrow because it could happen at any time if you're the Arizona Cardinals. All right, Jackson Smith-Njigba, 92 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. He leads the NFL with 1,428. And the Seahawks, after a 6-6 halftime score, they pulled away. They look pretty good.
Yeah, JSN back on track. Last week was the first game really all year where we were like, man, somebody game planned them and they took him out of a game. This is incredible. Minnesota did it to him. He said, don't worry, guys. All fantasy owners, I'm ready. I'm ready to end your playoffs the right way. Big game by him. But like you said, it was Seattle coming out in the second half and saying, let's put this team away.
You know, we're always talking about what team is going to win the division or what team is the best in the conference and who's going to the Super Bowl. And the thing I look for more than anything else is balance throughout the team. and I look for team wins. And you think about that game, they go from Seattle down to Atlanta at 6-6 at halftime, and Rashid Shaheed returns the kickoff 100 yards, and it just changes the complexion of the game. So they're a team to me that they can beat you on offense. When Sam Darnold gets going and JSN, they're awfully good. Their defense is fantastic. And now their special teams are getting into it. They're going to be a hard team. And the other thing about them is, for years we talked about, oh, you don't want to go to Seattle. You don't want Seattle coming to you. These guys win on the road.
On the road.
Nothing.
And we look at the teams that could end up with the number 1 seed in the NFC. It was the Rams, and then it's the Bears. When it's all said and done, it might be the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, whether they have to go on the road or stay home, they're going to be a tough team to beat when January rolls around. All right.
Get excited.
J.J. McCarthy plays a clean game. 3 touchdowns, no picks, and a win versus Washington. Does it mean anything to you?
It means something to him. I mean, for me, no. Like, I think for him as a young player who's building towards whatever he'll be, where so many Viking fans have written him off and say they want to get rid of him, they're done. I think for him, just stick to the process. You haven't played that much football in the NFL to go out there and play well. I get it. Washington is not in a good spot, but they played well last week against the Denver Broncos. So I think he should be confident going forward. And I think for Kevin O'Connell, hopefully this is a building block towards, hey, the guy handled more today. We showed we can play well. Now let's give him more next week and see if we can end the season off the right way going into next season.
He's a kid. He's 22 years old. Let him play. Let him learn how to play. Let him learn how to take his lumps and grow from it and all of that. And to me, it was a really good performance. We laughed about it. You know, we have these games on, and afterwards, he stayed out on the field for like half an hour. So he's
still there.
He was soaking.
You want to interview me? You need something?
Anybody else? He was soaking it all up. So good for him. I love seeing guys fight through it. And ultimately, that's going to be the litmus test for quarterbacks, because adversity's coming. How do you handle it? And he certainly handled it well today.
Still a lot of work that needs to be done.
No doubt.
Accuracy, the one-pitch arsenal, the fastball. It can't be the fastball all the time. And look, it's encouraging, but it doesn't change the reality. They have to find a veteran that can truly compete, all fair, no thumb in the scale to justify the draft pick, and let's see who the best player is next year. But it was encouraging. It was encouraging.
You were proud to put that purple tie on after today.
And you know what? I don't pick the tie, but today it was a day I was happy to put it on. Okay, that's it. We'll see if we're abandoned next week. If we are, we'll just, we'll spread out and do it all over again. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.